How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? That's my question for you for this new year, for 2022. How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? If you're like most people I speak with, something is probably popping up in your mind, some area in your life where you know that you've been letting something slide, something ride, something linger a little bit unresolved without advocating for yourself, without asking for what you want. How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if there's an area you've abdicated or neglected or found excuses to hide behind. This is as it's always been, part of the human condition. The Stoic philosopher, Epictetus, asked this exact question about 2,000 years ago, and there's no reason to believe that it was a new problem even then. Have you missed the Stoics and the Stoic sound effect? Well, it wasn't a new problem then, and the reason we are still asking the question is that, of course, it's a perennial. So, Epictetus and I are curious. How long? How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? It's the first week of 2022. Time to start asking for what you want. Well, maybe wait a couple minutes longer. I have some ideas about how to go about making your demands. Hello, Vedge Heads, Vedge Your Besties. Welcome back to Vedge Your Best, the plant-based podcast. My name's Michele Olander. I'm a certified life coach, a practicing vegan, and I'm here every week to encourage you to eat more plants and set an impossible goal. Today, episode 70, we're in the 70s, asking for what you want. And if there is one thing that unites or underpins everything that I do as a life coach, and more specifically as a vegan life coach, I would say that it's to encourage you to ask for what you want. So many of us have been socialized to make a virtue out of going with the flow, out of not standing out, not making a fuss, not being that, quote, high maintenance or, quote, that girl. Unfortunately, there are such clear examples on either side of the issue. You have doormats who get metaphorically walked on, and on the other side, there are bellowing narcissists. There are martyrs and bridezillas. There are ice princesses and demanding harridans. But do we really have a clear enough view of what it means to live in an effective way, to self-advocate truthfully, respectfully? I know I have had historically a hard time visualizing what it means to be someone who can routinely just ask for what she wants. And it's probably because somehow I grew up feeling pretty blessed, pretty lucky, and the idea of thinking that I should have something more or something more specific or something that caters to my particular or personal preferences, well, it seemed a bit overreaching. It's interesting, isn't it? And my parents, with the very best of intentions, raised me in the middle of the last century, wanting me to be polite and sensitive to others. And I think for them, it was the same kind of false binary in their heads. There's either this saintly, ladylike, no, you first, I'm fine, versus a self-obsessed, screeching, shrew, screaming, gimme, gimme, gimme. Grateful versus entitled. And I don't think that this either-or model disappeared in the last century. And I don't think that this either-or model of selfless versus selfish is very helpful for leading life as an effective adult. And I think it actually leads to so many of us not getting the models that we need to self-advocate, or not even becoming the real-life examples for others, for our children, grandchildren, our younger peers, of someone who can confidently and kindly just ask for what they want. And without that practice, without that belief that what you want is a perfectly fine thing to communicate and ask for, then we can start to feel very uncomfortable about asking for what we want, and instead second guess and delay and punt asking for what we want, and start thinking all sorts of things instead about asking. Things like, well, this is probably not the right time. No one really cares. It's sort of rude to ask, I think. Better not rock the boat right this second. I'm not that kind of person. I think these people are too busy. I'm actually fine. They never ask for anything. It's no big deal. They'll probably think I'm greedy. I don't know. I don't know if I really need it. I'll ask later. And with that discomfort, that mindset, it can just stretch on and on for decades or a lifetime. Not asking for what you want until someone specifically walks over to you, smiles, and assures you that they would like to know exactly what you want, and your wish is their command, which for many of us is admittedly a rare event. Or you go on holding your tongue until you snap, and in what the old novelists called a fit of pique, you let loose with a tirade of poor me, or passive-aggressive, or even aggressive-aggressive, giving more evidence to the unpleasant, witchy-bitchy, shrewish reputation of asking for what you want. Ask me how I know. I know about the shameful feeling that can come along for the ride when asking for something that is not immediately available or obvious or traditional or on offer. And if there is one thing that stood in the way of me committing to a vegan practice, it was that. Asking for what I wanted. Saying that I want to choose differently. Different choices at every meal, and in most purchases too. Even just saying that right now, just saying that reminds me how big it seemed at the time. How committing to a vegan practice seemed to mean that others were going to be inconvenienced, impacted, just because I wanted something different. So, Epictetus reminds us to ask ourselves, how long are we willing to wait before we demand the best for ourselves? It's normal that we do this to ourselves. That's why we read Epictetus and resonate with so much of his timeless wisdom 2 millennia on. Many of us feel discomfort when we ask for something, when we go public with what we want. But just because you keep your mouth shut and refrain from asking and second guess yourself doesn't make what you know go away. And it doesn't make what you want go away. And when I say it's very normal that we do this to ourselves, I mean just that. Most of us, most of the time, are doing this to ourselves. We may really think that it's other people, our near and dear, or the nameless others out there who are keeping us from showing up as we wish. But even when that is a little true or somewhat true, it's still a reminder to take fuller ownership over our self-advocacy. Because before you go out and start the new year with a lot of demands, I have a couple of thoughts to offer you. So first of all, when you're asking for what you want, remember that whether people agree to help you or they don't agree, or whether they complain or half-ass it or forget what you wanted by next week, that's actually not a big problem. What you want does not mean that you will necessarily get great buy-in from others. But as people see you consistently respect yourself and see you respect your choices and what you want most, they will take notice of it. And in their defense, why should they try? Why should they try and make what you want happen if you're not all that committed? So number one, asking for what you want. Even if others aren't that helpful, it's no reason to stop asking, because at the root of the issue is you asking yourself to show up. Number two, my advice is ask effectively. Spend a little bit of bandwidth on this idea, because a confused mind answers no. And I've been here a million times on both sides of the equation. Someone says, maybe we'll stop by later. Well, maybe you'll stop by later unless I gave birth to you or you married someone I gave birth to. That doesn't fly with me. So I will say no. I might be a little more conversational than just no than that. But essentially, I will tell you, no, I don't think that's going to work, because I don't know what I'm agreeing to. Maybe you'll drop by later? What does that mean? Maybe we'll get together later? Sure, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what that means. So I will probably say no. And in terms of me asking about vegan options at a non-vegan restaurant or at a hotel or at an event like a wedding, I have learned that asking, do you have any vegan options? That can be a really ineffective question. Recently, we called a Japanese restaurant in our town and asked if they had vegan options on the menu, and they just said, no. No, we don't. Now, I am reasonably certain that this particular restaurant has salads and rice dishes and veggie maki rolls and stir fries that could be made vegan. I'm pretty sure. But the question obviously meant a level of complication and confusion to the person that answered the phone at the restaurant. So it was just easier to say no. No. Easier to say no than spend time figuring out what the customer on the other end of the phone means as vegan. And listen, I admit I was kind of annoyed at the time, but I have since seen this as a really excellent example of that sales cliche. A confused mind says no. So if we're asking for something that's not entirely standard, and especially if it's something that's very important to us, it behooves us to ask a better question, a more specific question. One that someone who isn't fully versed in all our preferences and interests and wants and concerns can answer with some level of helpfulness. Like, Can you stir fry a bunch of vegetables for me without using eggs, meat, stock, etc.? More specific question. Can you make me a salad with dressing on the side? No egg, no cheese. Can you tell me what kind of noodles you use in the lo mein? Do those have egg in them? Those are specific questions where people can theoretically answer them in a way that's helpful to you. Recently, I was also on a website, and I was requesting in the search bar, requesting vegan shoes or vegan small accessories, and there was nothing that came up. But the store actually did have shoes made with some rubbers, some canvas bags, some canvas espadrilles, a straw bag, but there was no search term on the website for vegan. So it's a good example. If people do not have your particular search term defined the way you do in mind, asking for what you want can be more of a process. But the thing to remember is that it's up to you to invest in getting what you want. Epictetus's quote was, "How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" In my case, am I willing to wait to order vegan options, wait to search out vegan shoes and bags until everyone else joins me, until all the search terms include vegan, until all the Japanese restaurants and every restaurant has a list of what is reliably vegan on their menus? Well, no, I'm not now, but for a while I did make some of these complications mean that I wasn't ready yet. And we've talked about that here. But when you lean into full responsibility for getting what you want, well, remember, last week that was the subject. With great responsibility comes great power. We develop the power we need by taking the responsibility. We can't just wait for the power to develop first. So, when we demand the best of ourselves, we need to remember that we will need to ask for what we want and model what that's like. To model what it means to ask for something that isn't easy, that isn't on offer everywhere. And that might be your veganism. It could be your commitment to a political issue or the environment or making art, being a musician or caring for people or your family or your children. It could be your spiritual practice, your education, your business, whatever it is. Whatever it is, I think it's very important that you have the opportunity to build it, create it, live it, teach it, practice it. Not just for you either, for all of us. I think the process of you showing up, you being willing to live your life deliberately, is good for everyone. And for every entitled, toxic, narcissistic sociopath demanding his or her way, there are tens of thousands of us hiding behind our good girl or good boy manners and misapprehensions about what it means for us to ask for something more or ask for something different. So it's fun for me to summon the Stoics back this episode. I haven't been including them as much recently, but Stoic philosophy was one of my first loves in philosophy. And what I learned by coaching and getting certified and coaching my clients has been a wonderfully accessible, elegant way to practice some of these core elements of Stoicism. Elements like you go first. If you want people to help, help first. If you want people to love, love first. If you want people to support you in your growth, whether it's your veganism or any other goal, not only can you go first by helping to support others, even more crucially, you can decide to support yourself rather than wait for others to make it easier or more fun or less awkward. And 2, when you're asking for what you want, be specific. Be so specific. Don't put anyone in the position of having to read your mind. If you're a mom, have you ever been doing something and the kids come in and while you're in the middle of something that needs your full attention and it's an hour and a half until dinner and they say, "Mom, can we have something to eat?" Something to eat? Now? What? It's almost dinner. I'm up to my neck in stuff I have to finish. Are you kidding? No. Versus, "Mom, is it okay if we cut up 2 bananas and microwave some popcorn?" Sure. Sure, have at it. But eat it at the kitchen table, please. Now, that's maybe what they wanted from the beginning, a banana and some popcorn. Maybe. But if you had to do all the thinking and figuring out, it's too darn much, it's overwhelming and confusing, and so it's a no. But a specific request, highly specific, so much easier for the one you're asking to meet your request. I think that's a movie. Jerry Maguire, Help Me Help You. So help them. Help them help you. Number 1, by not making their compliance or reactions or knowledge the power over whether you can be vegan or run a 5K or write a book or start a business or lose 10 pounds or get your degree. Let them off the hook. Ask for what you want, but you take full responsibility of your goal. And 2, help them help you by being as specific as possible with what they can do. How long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? It's a fresh, shiny new year, 2022. I have a couple of big goals, which I will talk about in the upcoming episodes. Whatever your goal or goals for 2022, whatever results you're after, please don't wait for the right time. Don't wait for the best time. Don't wait until you get all your proverbial ducks in a row. Remember our other Stoic friend of the show, Seneca? The fool with all his other faults has this: he is always getting ready to live. Let's not get ready anymore. I wish each and every one of us a 2022 full of every blessing. I'm here, and I'll be here every week to encourage you and share ideas with you, even if we never actually speak in person, even if you never take me up on a free coaching call, which makes no sense, but okay, even if you never book yourself into my calendar or message me or email me. Ask yourself, how long are you willing to wait before you demand the best for yourself? It's time to start. Just start. That's the only how you need. Then let me know how I can help you help you. Vedge Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Vedge Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.